Defoliation might sound like plant torture, but if done right, it's a grower's secret weapon. Come on, we'll show you how. But before we do,
Today's video is brought to you by Real Grow Lab. If you want to connect with the best growers from all over the world, get tips and tricks on how to grow the dankest plants possible, and not have to worry about the censorship we get from YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Go check out realgrowlab.com. Get all kinds of great Grow Talk Q&A. Plus, see all the stuff YouTube won't let me show you in these videos. Sign up and join our growing community over at realgrowlab.com. Or download the app at the Apple or Android App Store. Now let's get back to today's video.
come on, High C, let's get into this one, man.
Okay. You said it sounds like plant torture. It totally does. We're not going to get into like the high stress training, which definitely sounds like plant torture. But is this considered a form of low stress training?
I mean, this is stress. We're defoliating. We're cutting the leaves off of the plant at very specific times. And we're sending a plant signals, and we're looking for a reaction from the plant.
Okay, so the first thing that comes up is you always tell me that the leaves are the solar panels for the plant. Why would I want to cut the solar panels off?
They absolutely are. We were talking about it before. You take 6 carbons and you take 6 H2O, 6 waters, you bake them in the leaf, and you come up with this glucose. And the glucose is the sugar that fuels everything in the plant, the energy for the plant.
Yeah, so why would I want to be cutting those off?
You would want to cut them off. All right, so we're talking about doing this at strategic times, right? Okay. So first off, we'd want to cut it off if the amount of energy that the leaf is producing is blocking more of the leaf underneath, so that it's blocking a lot of energy from getting to those other leaves. So that would be the first thing we would want to do.
Okay, and usually that's like, is that topping or is that just?
That's just defoliating. Okay. Sometimes as the plant is super leafy in veg, you might want to cut some of the foliage off. What I'm really thinking about is in flowering. There's some certain things you want to do. We talk about that schwazzing, but just defoliation in general in flowering. It does have there's a specific reason for doing it. There's a specific response we're trying to get to. That's what I'd love to focus on.
Okay, and I've always been a little bit afraid of defoliating in flower because I've been told you're not supposed to.
Well, if the leaves are the solar panels and that's where the energy is being stored, why would you want to cut them off?
Yeah.
Well, if I think about it, what's happening in veg? In veg, the plants are growing big. They need all that energy because they're going to grow a foot in a week.
Okay.
When you click the light back to flower, it's sending signals to the plant. No, we're not doing vegetative growth anymore. We're in that regenerative stage. The days are getting shorter. And so we need to concentrate on flower development. So when we cut all the leaves off, especially in flowering, we're sending a signal to the plant. First of all, it's a signal in nature, like it's being eaten. So what happens? First off, it wants to send, it's got that, when the plant is in veg, it's able to make a bunch of that glucose. It makes more than it needs. So it stores it as starch in the leaves and the stems. And then once you cut these leaves off, the plant goes, all right, man, I got plenty of stored energy. Let me make some more leaves. Hang on, let me make more leaves near these budding sites. There's these budding sites now. That's what we want to support. I can sense that it's only 12:12. The days are getting shorter. So hang on a second. If I got to send nutrient and starch up from the roots, man, I'm not going to send it over to making more leaves. I'm going to send it right to where the buds are. We'll make a little bit of leaf, enough to feed the buds, but I'm going to spend that energy building the buds. I'm going to spend that glucose into the buds.
So there's a differentiation here then, I think. When you prune your plants during veg, it triggers one reaction.
Sure.
But when you prune them in bloom, same action, but it triggers a different reaction.
You're saying pruning and defoliating. I think those are different because when you're pruning, you're removing the top. And then when you're removing the top, you're letting the top grow back. That's where this hormone, the auxins, the apex, the apex is what? The top, right? So the auxins come from that new growth. That's the stuff that fuels vegetative growth. We really don't want that. That's actually, those auxins are actually stored in the leaves also. So when we don't have any more tops developing and then we cut those leaves where all the auxins, all those growth hormones, all that testosterone was stored, Now it sends a message back to the roots. Hey, send up some stored reserves. Okay, send up enough sugar to refoliate to make sure that we have enough for the bud to, fuel the bud. Send some hormones up there. Do we want auxins? Nah, we're not trying to grow, man. We're trying to feed that bud. All right, send the ethylene, send jasmonic acid. Those are things that make the buds ripen, make them smell, increase terpenes.
Gotcha.
That's what we're going for now. And so we're sending a signal down to the plant to make those flowering hormones.
And so the plant is smart enough to know whether the light cycle is for veg or for bloom.
Yeah.
It's smart enough to know, hey, actually we're in bloom now. Instead of sending these, send these other ones for bud development.
Do you know the difference between winter and summer? You feel a little bit different in winter and summer?
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, you mentioned Schwazzing.
Yeah, I think it is called Schwazzing from Patrick Swayze. Something about his hair, I don't know. The defoliating. You defoliate heavy. All the leaves remove on day 1 of flower and day 21 of flower.
Okay, and why is that? Because I've heard people say don't defoliate at all, and then I've heard people say if you do, these 2 specific days.
Yes. All right. First day, you've got a bunch. Day 1 of flower. The plant still thinks it's in vegetative growth. It has been making a bunch of glucose. It's got all these leaves, more leaves than it needs, so it's been storing glucose. So you cut all those leaves off, and then it sends a signal to the plant, hey, man, I got to replenish these. And then it says, all right, well, where do I want to send the energy first? I've got this stored energy. I'll send it towards the flowers first, man. That's what we want to do. I see that there's flower development. Let me send it over there first.
Okay, so that makes sense for day 1 of flower. Then why do they say wait until day 21 to do it again?
Because we talked about the plant having stored sugars. If you take the leaves off at day 21, again, you're sending this stress response to the plant. When you cause a wound, it sends the plant in a survival mechanism. So the plant is saying, okay, I'm flowering. I just had an animal eat my leaves or something happened where I just lost my leaves. All right, I better just concentrate on, like I said, the hormones, as jasmonic acid and ethylene, to make these flowers, to make these buds stickier, smellier, to attract pollen, to get another animal to come over and spread the seeds or whatever.
Okay, so the day 1 and the day 21, that's specifically Schwazzing.
Yeah. You can defoliate anytime, man. I mean, Schwazzing is making that huge stress response and sending emergency hormones down just by cutting, a few leaves off every few days or whatever.
Okay, so just doing it on day 1, just doing it on day 21, that's called Schwazzing.
Right.
But I've seen you not stick to that schedule. I've seen you just kind of go in and trim.
Yeah. Yes, Schwazzing is just a super aggressive, you're sending a emergency response to get a flush of hormones up. Most of the time it's done where they'll just take 10-15% of the canopy off at a time. It does, those wounds do send a stress response down, but it's much less aggressive than Schwazzing. So you better have everything dialed in. Lots of CO2, lots of light, very healthy plants with water and plenty of water and nutrition if you're going to Schwazzing.
I'm thinking we're trying to mimic nature. I'm imagining like the squirrels and the deer being like, oh, it's not day 21 yet. We can't go eat those leaves.
No, man, that is, the plants have been, designed or whatever. They've evolved, yes, for millions of years to survive. And animals come and eat these things. What do you think the terpenes are for? To attract the animals.
And repel some of the animals.
Yeah, life's complex, man.
Life's complex. Okay, so what are some of the other benefits of doing this other than just the stress hormone response?
An easy one would be light and air penetration. Think about it. If light fuels photosynthesis. We talked about that sugar being baked right in the leaf. Mm-hmm. So if you have one big giant leaf laying on top of another leaf or laying on top of a flowering site, that flowering site can't get the energy, the solar energy that it needs to make that sugar to build itself, to photosynthesize. And then also, what do we talk about? Carbon. It needs to grab those, to make that sugar, you need to grab those 6 carbon molecules out of the air and combine it with the 6 water molecules. Well, if you've got a leaf laying on another leaf, you're not going to get a bunch of carbon. You're not going to get a bunch of fresh air under there. So between that and the lack of light, you're not going to get photosynthesis there. And the other point is because you're in flower, that's where your plants are most prone to molds and mildews. So you need to keep airflow going there, man.
Okay, I feel like I got a pretty good understanding of this, but I'm always worried about making mistakes.
Sure.
Help me avoid the most common mistakes when it comes to defoliating my plants.
Okay, first off, defoliate plants that are healthy. You don't want to defoliate a plant that's in poor health.
Okay.
Number two, you don't want to do it too late in flowering. If you're going to do that Schwazzing, follow the rules. Day 1 and day 21. If you do it too late, then it does rob the plant of energy. It can't recover, and you will lose yield.
I'm thinking of how kids can break a bone and bounce back right away, but an old person breaks a bone.
Yeah.
And it takes months and months to heal if it ever even heals.
Yes, exactly. Don't forget these plants are senescing. They're slowly dying. So you want to do a lot of this, any of this aggressive stuff while it's still got some energy. And one more thing, this is pretty intuitive, but don't remove sugar leaves. If you got a leaf that is feeding the bud, that is right next to the bud, leave it on there. Those are the leaves that you want. You want to get rid of the giant ones that are laying on top of those and blocking airflow and blocking light from them. But that is how I look at defoliation. What about you? Have you tried Schwazzing? Are you a traditional defoliator? Let me know in the comments. Come on, if you like this video, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, share this video with another grower you know, and check out the other couple videos YouTube's recommending. I think you'll dig them.